Hey everyone, Andy, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the history of something you've probably used thousands of times without a second thought, the eraser. It's that humble little tool that saves us from our mistakes. But have you ever wondered where it came from? How did we go from smudging our work to cleanly wiping it away? Well, stick around, because the story of the eraser is way more fascinating than you might think. Before we had these handy little rubber blocks, what did people do when they made a mistake with a pencil? I mean, graphite pencils have been around since the 16th century. For over 200 years, if you messed up, you had to get creative. The most common method, believe it or not, was using bread. Yep, you heard that right. People would take a piece of moist, balled up bread, usually crustless, because you wouldn't want to scratch the paper and double rub it on the graphite marks. It was absorbent and slightly abrasive, so it worked, kind of. But as you can imagine, it wasn't perfect. Breadcrumbs would get everywhere. It could leave greasy stains, and if you were hungry, your eraser might just disappear. Other materials were tried too, like tablets of wax or rough pieces of stone, but bread was the go-to for a surprisingly long time. This all changed in the 18th century, thanks to a bit of a happy accident. The year is 1770, and we meet an English engineer named Edward Nairn. The story goes that Nairn was working at his desk and he reached for his usual piece of bread to correct a mistake. But instead, he accidentally picked up a cube of rubber. He was one of the first Europeans to see this new, strange substance brought back from the Americas. It was known as caoutchouc or India rubber. To his surprise, when he rubbed it on the paper, it removed the pencil mark far better than bread ever did. It was cleaner, more efficient, and it didn't leave a mess of crumbs. Nairn was so impressed that he started selling these rubber cubes as rubbers, and the name stuck. They were expensive though. A small cube could cost as much as 3 shillings, which was a hefty price back then. But for those who could afford it, it was a revolutionary invention. So, problem solved, right? Well, not quite. This early natural rubber had a major downside. It was perishable. It would go bad over time, just like food. It would get sticky and smelly in the summer heat and hard and brittle in the winter cold. It wasn't the reliable tool we know today. This is where another key player enters our story, Charles Goodyear. Yes, the same Goodyear you associate with tires. In 1839, Goodyear discovered a process called vulcanization. By heating rubber with sulfur, he could stabilize it. Vulcanized rubber was no more longer sticky. It didn't rot, and it stayed flexible and strong in all temperatures. This was a massive breakthrough. It made rubber a commercially viable and durable material for all sorts of applications, including, you guessed it, erasers. Thanks to Goodyear, the eraser became a much more practical and long-lasting tool. Now that the material was perfected, the next big innovation was about convenience. In the mid-19th century, pencils and erasers were still sold separately. You'd have your pencil in one hand and your block of rubber in the other. But on March 30, 1858, a man from Philadelphia named Hyman Lipman had a brilliant idea. He patented a pencil with a groove at the end where a small eraser could be glued in. It seems so obvious to us now, but at the time, it was a game changer. You had your writing tool and your correction tool all in one convenient package. However, Lipman's patent was eventually invalidated because the court decided it was just a combination of two existing inventions, not a new one. But the idea was out there, and it was a huge hit. Pencil manufacturers everywhere started adding erasers to the ends of their pencils, creating the iconic yellow pencil with a pink eraser that we all recognize. Speaking of that pink eraser, why is it pink? The most famous one, the Pink Pearl, was first produced in the mid-19th century. Originally, the pink color came from a material mixed into the rubber called pumice. Pumice is a light, volcanic rock, and its abrasive quality helped to scrape the graphite particles off the paper. The pumice had a natural pinkish hue, and so the erasers turned out pink. Over time, even when manufacturers stopped using pumice, the pink color had become so iconic and associated with erasing that they just kept it. They started adding a pink dye instead. So that classic pink color is really just a holdover from the original recipe, a great example of marketing and tradition. As we moved into the 20th century, chemistry gave us even more options. The world of plastics and polymers exploded, leading to the creation of synthetic erasers. In the 1960s, vinyl erasers, also known as plastic erasers, became popular. These are often the white, black erasers you see used by artists and architects. They are made from polyvinyl chloride, or PVC. Unlike rubber erasers that work through friction and abrasion, vinyl erasers are a bit more clever. The plasticizer molecules in the vinyl are very good at lifting graphite particles off the paper and trapping them within the eraser shavings. This means they are less abrasive and gentler on the paper, which is perfect for delicate artwork or technical drawings. They also tend to create less dust and smudging, producing those neat, stringy peelings instead of a fine powder. And the innovation didn't stop, sir. Today, the variety of erasers is incredible. You have kneaded erasers, which look like a lump of gray putty. Artists love these because you can shape them to a fine point for detailed work, and they erase by absorbing the graphite, so they don't leave any residue. You have gum erasers, which are soft and crumbly, great for large areas. And of course, you have novelty erasers in every shape and color imaginable, from animals to food to cartoon characters. These are often made from cheaper synthetic materials and are more for fun than for serious erasing, but they show just how far the humble eraser has come. There are even electric erasers that use a small motor to spin the eraser tip, providing precise and effortless correction. So, from a humble piece of stale bread to a high-tech vinyl compound, the eraser has undergone a remarkable evolution. It's a perfect example of how a simple need to correct our mistakes drives innovation. For centuries, people looked for a better way to wipe the slate clean, and through accidental discoveries, chemical breakthroughs, and clever design, we arrived at the tools we have today. Every time you pick up a pencil and its trusty companion, you're holding a piece of history that connects back the engineers, inventors, and even hungry scribes from long ago. It is a reminder that even the smallest objects in our lives have a rich and interesting story to tell. What do you think? Do you have a favorite type of eraser? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And if you enjoyed this little trip through history, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories behind everyday objects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.